Well, during the meeting of the board of directors of ENTEC, we very much honors to have the members of the board giving the recommendation or the suggestions, including their views related to the activities of ENTEC and the energy situation overall. So for today, for the CEO talk number 5, we have the honors to have Dr. JJ Yu Junling, advisors and the CTO of the CP Group to give the views regarding the CP Group's technology R&D on the next generation energy. So on this occasion, I would like to invite Dr. JJ, please.
Yes, so I will give an introduction of the CP Group's technology strategy in clean energy. And in some respect, this reflects our view, or my view. So the outline of the talk is I will give an introduction of CP Group in terms of organization, strategies, and sustainability roadmap. And I'll give our CP technology vision and our CTO office technology focus areas. And I will jump in various next generation of energy topic that we're looking at, such as hydrogen generation, biofuel, and their byproduct, in particularly graphene. And then solar cells in the Paris Guide, and quantum dots for some of the next generation of solar cells that can achieve higher efficiency. And another interesting subject is space solar energy that we've been looking at with some startups. And also give you some interesting works that on the use of the pulses of fields, electromagnetic fields, and different waves applications that in the real world that we've been looking at that help us achieve sustainability. And I will talk a little bit more like our promotion and our position that on nuclear fission, nuclear energy fission and fusion, and using a few startup and different approaches to highlight some of the interesting works that happening in the world. First, let me give an introduction of CP Group. CP Group has about 8 major business lines and doing about close to 100 billion US dollar revenue, with 450,000 people in over 21 countries. You all know CPF, food and agriculture, is our main business. And China also a big chunk that contribute a quarter of the group's revenue. And the retail side, that we have 7-Eleven and some pharmacies and micro Lotus and so on. And in telco world, our third area of business as telecom, the True Digital Park, True IDC Cloud, and True TV side. And the fourth one, e-commerce, that has mobile money, assigned commerce and logistics, and now procurement and blockchain side of work. And fifth, we have properties like and high-speed rail, like CP Land, Icon and first tier and high-speed train, right? And sixth is pharmaceutical and hospital. So in China, we have CP.5, a biotech company, and then also a pharmaceutical company, like one of the top company in China that owns 15% Sinovac, the COVID vaccine. And then we also have in automobile and renewable energy. So we have the joint venture of the MG car and electrical MG as well. We have one of the largest motorcycle company in the world, called Jiang. And recently we formed this new energy company called AutoWim. And we also have a lot of investment, largest shareholder in Ping An, one of the largest insurance company, and Ping An Good Doctor in China, and Itocho, major shareholder in Itocho, Japan, and CITIC in China. This is our investment. Our major vision of the company is to be a leading tech and innovative conglomerate, right? Providing food for both mind and body that creates shared value and bring health and well-being for all. So this is, can you see my screen? Okay. This is a CP Group's net zero pathway, right? Based on science-based targets. Based on 2021, we have intend to achieve carbon neutral 2030 with respect to scope 1 and 2, and then 2050 net zero emission, right? And this is some of the target of reduction within different scope that we set. And CP Group, the roadmap progress on this carbon footprint, to give you an idea that our own scope 1 and scope 2 is basically about 8%. But majority of them coming from scope 3. And you can see that over time, right, our absolute greenhouse emission in scope 3 increased by about 2.8%, although our absolute greenhouse emission with respect to scope 1 and 2 actually decreased by 2.64%. Our greenhouse gas intensity emission, right, for revenue we produce with respect to scope 1 and 2, we actually decreased by almost 20%. So that's good. Our total electricity consumption in terms of intensity per our revenue is decreased, although our electricity consumption increased. And similarly here, our total energy intensity, not just electricity, but energy, fuel, transportation, gas, the turbine that's added, total energy intensity is decreasing, so improving, so that's good. Although the total energy consumption rises. Our renewable energy consumption, you can see that we are improving and now contribute about 15% or so now. So that's a good part of roadmap on carbon footprint. And you can see the cost of our total energy increase. Of course, the total energy, as I said, is increasing a little bit, although the intensity, carbon footprint intensity is better, but the total energy cost contribute about 53 billion baht, and increasing. The trend looks like increasing as well. And you can see renewable is 15%, and electricity 64%, and others 22 or so. And this gives you a particular snapshot of CPF in terms of renewable energy. And you can see that majority, 65%, is biomass, and 33% are biogas, and solar at the moment still a small percentage, about 2%. CP Group strategy, I'll give you a quick overview. So I summarize here that we focus on the 6 core values, and many of our work, research and technology strategy follow these 6 core values, in particularly 3 benefits, right? Benefit the country, people, and group. And accept change, innovation, and so on, right? And Khun Supachai also, our CEO, said 3 right pathway, right vision, mindset, commitment, and right focus, excellency, and right execution, then people and partner. And 5 transformation principle, that transparency and market mechanic dynamics, leadership, the transparency in terms of define our goals, KPI, and our value. The market dynamics shows economics as well, and leadership, that's us mainly, and empowerment of people, and focus on technology as well. And there are 6 key directions: zero everything, zero carbon, zero waste, zero plastic, and so on. Food security, that like alternative protein, genetics. Energy security, and food as a medicine for health and longevity. And digital transformation and technology leadership is a key direction that I was inaugural Chief Digital Officer and now Chief Technology Officer for quite a few years. And human capital development, and we set up Digital Academy, CP University, to Digital Park, and so on. A synergy across the group, across the ecosystem, across the world, and supply chain diversity. And our CEO, Khun Supachai's vision is in simple terms, and to make CP Group like Amazon as a technology leader. And so if you consider energy was the new gold, and technology is the future new gold, right? And this is his perspective of the industry-based generation. If you consider technology, here is farming and agriculture as first generation, and products through manufacturing, and capital market, money is the 3rd generation that drive the growth, and then data and digital innovation is the 4th revolution, and new technology, right? He considered that is the 5th industry revolution. And so being a technology leader and turning CP Group to become a technology leading conglomerate, particularly as applied technology leader. And that's his vision. And of course, through this exercise is to develop an S-curve, a new business opportunity as well. And some of these companies, like energy company I mentioned, blockchain company, logistic company to money, right, that you all have some experience, now has become a fintech unicorn in Thailand. So with respect to my own organization that supports the group's senior leadership to drive their technology vision and their technology strategy to support the business, right? So we help transform CP into next generation global leader of applied technology. And so my organization key function is focused on technology R&D strategy and technology leadership. So we help evangelize orchestration and synergization, help with governance and reporting. And we look at around 3 to 7 years outlook, and we look at various solutions, IP included as well. And we help establish global ecosystem like startup and identify investment targets and create expert advisor network around the world as well. So in a way, this is a summary that we take out the inside out, take out the requirement from the various business unit of the group, and we get outside in from the ecosystem around the world from different aspects of technology and the startup, VC and universities, and we, together with the industry trends, of course, we get a direction from the senior leadership, and we provide a feedback loop or advice, right? And so this helps us create new ideas, new projects, and create identify investment property as well, and give us the possibility to develop S-curve and new product as well. So, and my organization have summarized here about 10 technology focus areas that help drive the group's technology strategy. And first is AI, generative AI, and relate to metaverse, blockchain, and so on. And second is next generation computing, edge, brain computing, quantum computing. And third, respect to satellite, drone, robotics, and 6G, various aspect. And fourth, we focus on multi-omics and gene editing that address human, animal, plants, also microorganisms. And fifth is anti-reverse aging, including preventive, predictive, and regenerative. And sixth, food as medicine and brain health is a focus. And seven, alternative protein and feed and ingredient. Eighth, superseed breeding and some work on space farming and food. And ninth is on zero waste, the circular economy, popularization, BCG, etc. 10th, we focus on green tech, alternative material, right? Like majority of this talk, that this last two that we will focus on. So I mentioned one of my responsibility is to help set up the Innovation Center of Excellence at True Digital Park that we're creating for biotech lab, sustainability, clean tech, nanotech lab, and AI digital and robot advanced communication, and finally robotics lab. So let me focus on the main topic of this talk. And this is the industry presentation on hydrogen, and one of many interests here that of this board, and is hydrogen generation. Basically, 99% is produced by fossil fuels, right? And which per kg hydrogen generate about 12 kg CO2, and still has quite a bit of a carbon footprint. And in 2022, that 2.5% of global energy content is hydrogen, but 99% is for industry use, right? Not really for electricity or transport, and it's really for industry use, for steel, for cement, for chemical, fertilizer, and so on. So that just gives you an idea. Despite hydrogen itself is no carbon emission per se when you use it for energy or electricity, but you can see that very little usage really in the electricity side and any transportation in particular. So my view, of course, our view is transportation. It will be very challenging for hydrogen because of the requirement of infrastructure, charging infrastructure, and with the rise of battery, it's very difficult for hydrogen to be economical at the moment. And so for transportation, for EV, it is very tough for hydrogen, and due to the hydrogen overall efficiency and the charging infrastructure, all this cost. Long haul transportation still have a possibility, but that window is also closing in as well. And of course, for space travel, still hydrogen is possible, but even that is losing a little bit momentum, I would say, with ammonia, liquid ammonia. That's also possible. So and shaping airplane for hydrogen is still a distant dream, and so for transportation side, for electricity generation, they both will be a challenge, to say the least, for hydrogen. But hydrogen itself is a great trend for industry use, and current generation, as I said, 99% is high carbon generation. So we still should make that generation to be near zero carbon. That's our goal, and to make sure that and the economics match today's hydrogen generation, which is natural gas based, using steam methane reforming. And so despite we have relatively conservative view with respect to hydrogen for transportation, like EV, or even electricity generation, right? We still want to work on clean hydrogen, right? That give you near zero carbon footprint. So these are various different color of hydrogen generation. Most of the people understand the green hydrogen, that using renewable energy like solar and doing water electrolysis. And this some of the topic I will talk here as well. And the other color of hydrogen generation, not many people may be aware, is the turquoise hydrogen that take biogas or methane, that doing pyrolysis that make hydrogen. That some of the topic I will talk about as well. So this is a summary slide of some of our clean hydrogen and graphene program, that various approaches that embedded in this slide. So for example, taking manure through anaerobic microbes digestion that give us biogas, which has a lot of methane, around 60%, followed by the turquoise hydrogen that I just mentioned. Alternative, of course, we can also take in natural gas to do the clean methane transformation to give us hydrogen. And this is a low carbon footprint, right, per kg of hydrogen, less than 2 kg of CO2, versus the 12 kg of CO2 for the green hydrogen generation. And more importantly, this new technology we're looking at very closely is called flash hydrogen, or you can sometimes you can consider this like a flash pyrolysis, right? And which I will talk a little bit. And this one doesn't work well on the gas per se, so the turquoise work out very well on the gas state, but this one work very good on the solid state of waste plastic, like PE, right, and PP, polypropylene and polyethylene, plastic waste, and some other solid, like, which I will talk about as well. And the beauty of this flash hydrogen, that it will generate hydrogen and graphene in one go, right? There's some AI technology we need to apply for the parameter control and for target application. And some of these things that we talk about, clean hydrogen, of course, I expect the major use will be chemical industry, ammonia, fertilizer, and so on, right, for food processing. Some for energy in terms of turbine, gas turbine, that are some decentralized setup to be used as energy. For the automotive side, put it here, that's a possibility, but I expect to be significant challenge. And long haul, of course, is a possibility. Yeah. So many of these advantage that it doesn't require catalyst, some of these flash things, and it will give us 90% fewer greenhouse gas emission, right? So and it give us circular waste management for plastic, manure, right, upcycle for energy and carbon. So because this process also give us carbon, and we use it for graphene as well, which I will talk a little bit later on. So the general pyrolysis concept is important here, right? Is pyrolysis heating organic materials such as biomass and plastic, and usually around 500 to 900 degrees, and deconstruct all this into carbon, into fuel, and different materials. And as I mentioned, carbonization is one aspect of pyrolysis. We can burn corn cob, which is one of our work, that through pyrolysis that make it a biochar as a fertilizer. A biochar is still not used here much, or not used at all in Thailand. We are doing experiment to see the performance in Thailand. And we can take that biochar further as a feedstock for graphene, right? So that's the thing. I already mentioned the mating pyrolysis for turquoise, and but more importantly is we use feedstock of biogas from manure fermentation to take it further value over. Biogas already a renewable green tech energy, but we take it further to make hydrogen out of it as well, as can through this clean methane reformation. And I mentioned about flash, but you normally we don't talk in the context of pyrolysis, but you can also think this in like a pyrolysis, except that you burning or set up the temperature with pulses, right, in a very short interval, like millisecond, so that it like a flash, right? And in a single go that you can produce hydrogen and graphene. And that's some of the research work we working on and looking at. And so let me introduce this flash technology that we work Rice University and the startup Universal Matter that take the feedstock of some carbon material. As I said, they're generally solid, right? Doesn't work well. It doesn't work with gas state, and you compress into this electricity heat that heat up these materials inside this high capacitor and high release of electricity that in a flash of seconds, right, to give the material a rise of 3,000 degrees, right, basically causing sublimation of all the materials that, and then you're cooling some quickly, that you clash the carbon is actually, it has high sublimation temperature, and they after cooling they fall down, right, and the gas goes out like hydrogen, oxygen, right? And in the case of some of the plastic waste consists of like PE, PP consists of carbon, hydrogen. The carbon will drop into flash graphene, which I will talk about, and the hydrogen will collect through for hydrogen generation. And you can automate this whole process that in a train form that has this feedstock coming in that produce flash graphene and hydrogen in a single go. And some of the feedstock can be petroleum coke or even coal and mixed plastic waste, rubber ties, biomass, and food waste packaging, right? That you can feed into this flash graphene technology that, as I said, in a flash of second, like I mentioned, like millisecond, right? About between 10 to 300 milliseconds. And some of this parameter you would tune through AI control on this based on the size of the pallet of the waste and also your target as well. And no solvents and water used. And the pilot project that looking at is 1 ton per day at this flash graphene. And it has 90% yield and the highest purity, about 99, is producing turbostratic graphene. And this turbostratic graphene is really focused on what we call a few layer graphene, or very few layer graphene, usually 2 or 3, compared to rather than the single layer, right? So the comparison is with a multiple layer, and traditional graphene, they call it AB stacked, is line up along this line that across multiple layers. And well, this one is turbostratic, right? That is very few layers, but they are not really line up any kind of a particular structure. So, and the cost of production is much lower, a fractional cost of today's graphene production from graphite, for example. And the dispersibility in water is very high due to this particular structure. So it's very good in mixing with cement and steel, so which I will talk about it. As I said, the condition is to get to 3000 degrees in a millisecond to cause sublimation, really breakdown of the different material, and cool them off very quickly. That let the graphene naturally, like almost like an exfoliation, right? That's synthesized on the ground that gives the structure of this graphene is called flash graphene. And the use of I will come is for it will, for generally thinking, it reduce the material by 25% and greenhouse gas emission by another 20%. So you can use it for concrete materials, right? You improve 30% compression, reduce concrete by 30%. You can use it for coating that increase compressive strength by 30% and pull off adhesion by 40%. You can use it for lubricants. You can use for tire and rubber. That again, right? You can improve the abrasion resistance and energy consumption, reduced by 20%. And asphalt, you can extend the life of asphalt by around 20 to 30% as well. But the key things is this concept called flash hydrogen. Basically, you take, as I mentioned, this solid waste that consists of carbon and hydrogen, 14% hydrogen, 86% are carbon, and you run through this flash technology in a single go. That you get, in this case, you get flash graphene, which has the properties and fractional cost of the traditional graphene production, and you achieve many of the equal, even not better properties with respect to cement, steel, reduction of steel, cement, rubber, and then you capture, in this case, hydrogen, right, which is what we want as an energy. And as I said, the green hydrogen is still a challenge because the cost of electricity, the fundamental is the electricity cost is still there, right? And using water electrolysis, you have the limiting factor that you will use around 40 plus kilowatt hour of energy, and that will electricity cost based on the country, of course, per unit of energy. But if you this country as a reference, then you're talking about $4 plus per kg of hydrogen. So it won't fly, right? Too expensive. And that's just for industry use. Of course, if you for transportation electricity, that's even worse. So that's the fuel cell that loss should give you another 30%. So you will not do well for hydrogen generation. But using this flash graphene, right, you will get a single technology with very little electricity, and then you get graphene, which is really a fraction of today's cost. That and byproduct for hydrogen. So you you really, the claims was negative cost for hydrogen generation. And same concept, Rice University and Universal Metals work on is can extract rare earths, right? The solid waste of electronic waste to get rare earths also collected as well. And so as I mentioned, some of the feedstock for us, we have corn cob, we have coffee ground and rice husk and coconut shell, and we have a lot of plastic waste, and we have a lot of manure. And so by applying this flash Joule heat technology, right, that give us about, but if I want to do hydrogen, of course, I will just take the material that with a carbon and hydrogen and essentially achieve the hydrogen capture. If it has oxygen, then I have to, oxygen and hydrogen have different sublimation point as well, different, so I have to fill them into different capture scheme. So flash hydrogen is a topic that maybe not many people are aware. So I just introduced as one of our technology strategy for hydrogen as a byproduct for the graphene and other carbon, activated carbon, and a biochar, right? So it's very economical overall for hydrogen generation, and yeah, so this will buy us time for the green hydrogen to come to the right point of economics. So this is another company example of technology on the electrolysis on green hydrogen. They're using water, or more accurately, alkaline water, and that is a membrane-free, right? A two-step water electrolysis, and it doesn't use membrane, so that reduce certain cost. And the basically you have phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 you generate hydrogen using electricity, right? And the cathode has a hydrogen evolution reaction that takes electricity and generate hydrogen, and you get hydroxy ion, and then which this anode that is a nickel hydroxide, and that takes this hydroxy that turn into this form, nickel oxhydride, which doesn't emit oxygen, basically captures oxygen. This will operate at ambient temperature, right? So no oxygen release, no need for membrane. And normally water electrolysis is in one go, right? That release hydrogen on one side and oxygen on another side. And you need a membrane to separate the hydrogen and oxygen to avoid combustion. And then the oxygen evolution reaction is usually costs a lot of energy, that over potential, so not very efficient, and with respect to oxygen evolution reaction. And this separate two phase, right? And then the second phase is generate oxygen, no electricity consumed, right? So and basically this alkaline, this is actually alkaline water, right? 25% KOH, potassium hydroxide, and then the 75% water, right? In that respect, similar to alkaline electrolysis. So, and this in this way, it's just release oxygen, right? So no electricity being used. Overall, this process gives you a better high energy, high heat value, right, and oxygen evolution reaction efficiency. But fundamentally, for the electricity hydrogen generation, right, it has a high efficiency using around 42 kilowatt hour per kg hydrogen. But that cost itself still not, it's not economical. And this is already one of the best solution, right? Sometimes, so sometimes people give you numbers that like $1 per kg. Some of the company in US, let's say call it electrical hydrogen, that company, but you really need to look at their spec that they talk about almost 50 kilowatts per kg. Then you're and the 50 kilowatt hour, really, that's already at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You talk about already $5. Of course, depending on the country, the unit cost may be different, right? But in Thailand, this is just very expensive. But this is already one of the most promising technology. And this company from Israel that we looking at, working with, they are not focused on transportation, electricity. They focus on the chemical production, fertilizer, those kind of things, ammonia, and so on. So this is the example that we also talking to PTT that take hydrogen and to produce protein. So they're taking carbon dioxide and hydrogen as an energy source, and through gas fermentation, right, through microbes that eat hydrogen and carbon dioxide, that produce protein feed for our shrimp. So some of the work we experiment that give us some good early indication result that has 20% more survival rate, and due to its antimicrobial characteristic of this microbial fermentation, and give us overall weight and yield as well. And this is the overall, this one is significantly improved carbon footprint compared to the fish meal and soybean and others. So this is good. Some research work we're working on. And taking this further, we're also looking at the food waste that we feed into black soldier fly. Some are traditional food waste, some are just even manure that we feed into the black soldier fly, which is a harmless insect that we produce. Mostly we in the past, or mainly we're looking at this for feed that again like that carbon dioxide hydrogen approach. This is for feed we are looking, and there's some antimicrobial, and the cost economics still not quite there yet in terms of replacing fish meal or soybean. But one of the new angles that we're looking at, very exciting, is to look at the genetically modified black soldier flies that give us 80% less carbon footprint than the crop oil, right? In terms of biofuel, because this black soldier fly that genetically modified will give us a very high oil content, twice than normal black soldier fly, right? And in terms of per land size, give us 460 times more yield than the crop oil. And so this genetically modified wouldn't matter as a biofuel. So we we look at this as a quite interesting approach for generating biofuel energy. So I mentioned the AutoWind is our energy company that mainly focus on solar energy and also wind that we're looking at as well. Solar is a decentralized solar panel is our current focus, and centralized generation is another step, and the charging station, AutoWind is also focusing on. So you probably have seen some charging station as well. But the research is try to improve the efficiency and the energy through output and the overall cost, of course, reduce overall cost. So perovskite and quantum dot, in a way, they are quite related technology. And perovskite is a crystal structure material that have a chemical formula AB(X3), like this kind of a crystal structure. A generally is a larger, slightly larger than B, and like this A, and X is the smaller one that essentially link the other two atoms together in a crystal shape. That is that structure is very interesting. And A and B are cations, and X is anion that really binds them together, such as calcium, titanium, oxygen 3. And this doesn't AB don't have to be atoms per se. The AB can be some compound or like molecule, like methyl and ammonium, right? CH3. This is NH4. NH4, and so on, right? So they can form like this structure here. And the beauty of this perovskite thing is very lightweight. It has a potential high power generation efficiency. You've seen some of the record talk about like 30+%. I will on this point a little bit. And the production cost is very low, right, compared to silicon, which is today's standard PV cell. And it's very thin, right? This turned out to be very useful, right? And it has give you a greater range of light spectrum, right, including very low light. The challenge, of course, here is that high stability, right? Normally, PV cell like silicon give you a lifespan of 20 years, right? Here, this technology give you, I think best, maybe today is like 10 years, but normally can be just a few months, a few years, depending on the structure of the material, right? And it can be affected by climate, dirt, rain, snow, and so on. But the potential here is because it's very light and thin, you can put on EV cars as a roof that give you another extension of range, right? And so there are many possible applications, and it has strong solar absorption, and this is a key thing, and relatively low bonding energy of electron hole pair, right? The band gap is relatively low. Actually, some of them still higher than silicon, right? And like 1.4 electron volt versus silicon 1.1. But it has a high transparency, right? That's a higher solar absorption, which is really good, and allows light longer time to convert to electricity as well, right? And some of the company that essentially the electron hole pair or exciton, they separate by the photon, but they recombine some of them, right? And by creating some multi-layer reflection, that some university to reduce this combination of electron hole pair, because as if there is a reflected one that already have an electron hole pair, so they don't recombine across the substrate, and that gives you creating a photo responsivity of 250% increase. And this is the one approach, right? But I feel this is probably overkill and unnecessary. And the best way is to use multi-conjunction, right? I think that's the advantage of perovskite, right? And for that matter, quantum dot. So they're presented here, right? Quantum dot, sometimes called artificial atoms, right? They are nano crystal particles and have band gaps, right? That essentially how photon energy can move the electron from the valence band to the conductivity band to generate electricity. The band gap are adjustable across a wide range of energy levels, right? By changing simply their size. So quantum dots are materials, right? The different kind of material you can usually binary compound, for example, lead sulfide and some indium phosphate, those kind of things. And you can also use together with perovskite nanoparticle structure as a quantum dot as well, and which has a characteristic that of course different material will have different band gap, but you can change the size of this quantum dot structure. Here you get different kind of band gap, right? And with significant light absorbed across this, you can get much higher efficiency, right? So and because you can take care, like I said here, right, that with multi-junction or tandem solar cell, right, not just one solar cell layer, you have multi-layer. You get a variety of material used to improve efficiency that can give you 85% theoretically, right? And normally a single junction usually has a limit around 30%. So this tandem solar cell that creates multiple layer, right, in conjunction perovskite silicon, or you can think that like quantum dot materials or different lattice, super lattice, that you can mix different kind of material, right? So that will give you a spectrum of light that, for example, the silicon can take care of the infrared wavelengths or red wavelengths that with its 1.1 electrovolt band gap, and perovskite can take care of the green and the blue, and some can take care of UV, different kind of light of UV, far, near UV, and so on, right? So basically, you get the efficiency 43%, or even up to multi-layer, right? Theoretically, even 80% or so. And so I believe the multi-layer, right, or tandem solar cell is really the future, right? Of course, some of this this definitely give you very great absorption of the whole light spectrum, and you can handle some through different band gaps for different wavelengths of the light. Of course, the stability is still an issue to be researched. As I said, the silicon is quite ideal solar cell material, but it's under only 30% max of spectrum efficiency generally on the infrared and red light spectrum of the light, but it's very stable, right? So these are some of the challenges we will face. And so perovskite is a great material that's cheap, can be used for emergency use, and for warfare, sometimes for emergency energy, and so it's very easy to carry, even though it's not very stable, right? And its lifespan is short, but it's a very good future technology. And quantum dot, a similar concept, but in a quantum dot form of nano crystals, nanoparticle structure that has even greater characteristics that has varying band gap that for different sites, right? And so that's so it's very economical in that sense, because you just focus on one material and you get different size, you can achieve different band gap. So, and higher absorption of the entire light spectrum. So this is some of the things very interesting for the future. But another thing we look at is space solar, right? Maybe I don't think Thailand we look at this at all yet, right? There are the dozens of startups that are working on it, and we looking at two, one from US, one from UK, and space solar basically putting solar panel, if you like, in the space on the satellite, and the solar power generation in space convert solar energy into electrical energy. So and then the electrical energy convert to microwave or laser and beam down to the Earth, right? And the ground receiving station basically convert this into power grid electricity. And under this giant receiving stuff, below them, you can do farming and other factory and other kind of stuff as well. And that's a general idea. And it's potentially 8 to 13 times more efficiency than Earth solar, because you have uninterrupted day and night. You don't have cloudy or rainy day or any Earth climate, right? And you don't have atmospheric reflection loss, which is often 30%. And the sun never sets in space. Right? And phased arrays of antenna that allow you and beam anywhere, so you don't need a transmission line to move across the world. So you just beam into the place and then get the electricity onto the grid, and you don't have to produce energy somewhere, like hydrogen, and then you move somewhere to for charging infrastructure, for example. And the economics, of course, this was like a moonshot somewhat, but because the net zero demand is up significant, getting more and more, and and also because the mega constellation of LEO, the low Earth orbit satellite caused significant down, right? Because this is basically a satellite with going around the world. And we already doing so many satellites, like 40,000 satellites, right? And so LEO, right, within the last 5 years. And geo Earth orbit satellite is also, because of economics, right, it's also useful as well. And now you have company like Astronis, the startup doing mini geo, like the 1/8 of the weight of the traditional geo satellite. So you can focus on particular country like Thailand. I'm looking at this for many of the 6G communication and broadband internet service. So as I said, the economic is the big problem, right? Because you're talking about the solar panel is or the satellite setup is like thousands of meters long, right? That 10 times the International Space Station. And if you have a closer low Earth orbit, right, your antenna can be a smaller size, and so you can reduce some of the cost, right? And you can transmit to microwave or laser, and both has advantage and disadvantage. And laser is a little bit cheaper, but you get you have to operate on low Earth orbit, and you get some atmospheric effects that affecting the laser beam, right? And you have a lot of risk in terms of people attacking the satellite, and you also have the laser that could be used turn into a weapon of mass destruction. For the microwave, you can go into geos satellite, but it has advantage that also advantage. It doesn't suffer the cloud stuff, rain cloud, and atmospheric conditions like the laser approach, right? But although it's a little bit more expensive because the terrestrial receiver will be several kilometers in diameter. But underneath, you can produce you can do some farming under the receiving, right? So you can do like you can read the retina to a few meters above ground, and then you can put some underground that, like today, many of the solar panel that has basically farming underneath as well. This one can even do better. What is interesting about this technology, right? Although this is still economically not viable, but is trending in better in the right direction. As I mentioned, the low Earth satellite, low Earth orbit, all the satellite cost is much cheaper now. But many people consider this is less challenging than nuclear fusion, right? And there was a saying that 2100, there's the belief, some people, that 20% of electrical power comes from terrestrial, like nuclear renewable, but 80% will come from astral electricity, meaning space, right? And US, China, UK, Japan all work on it, right? And this could be another flashpoint of geopolitics, geo rival, and certainly satellite and mineral resource and energy, right? So all this thing is another exciting area. So the others, this slide gives you some of the interesting work that we've been working on the energy of pulses and of fields and waves, electromagnetic field, electromagnetic waves, and the ultrasonics waves, but mostly electromagnetic. We doing research on food storage, defrosting and cooking that augment on the existing refrigerator or environment that with this small control device that generate pulses of electromagnetic field that that you can see that after 33 days, the strawberry will go bad, but it's still fresh, right? That with this electromagnetic field of relatively low frequency, right, under 1 megahertz, right, and this is controllable as well. And we all know that water is a dipolar molecule that bond together on a hydrogen bond, and when you apply the electromagnetic field, it line up the water molecule, right, and break down some of the hydrogen bond, but line up the water molecule that reduce the surface tension and absorb more oxygen and reduce more vaporization, right? Reduce vaporization and absorb more oxygen and keep the food fresh, right? A similar concept we take on the magnetic cooling, that take electromagnetic field, that using special materials, right, that apply pulse of electrical magnetic field that function like a refrigerator, right, for this kind of material like gadolinium, that when you apply the magnetic field, you line up the internal electron and pull the magnetic field that essentially generate heat, right, and then you can expel them out. And then when you turn the electromagnetic field off, right, this part is like the compressor of the normal refrigeration, and this part is like the condenser that take out the heat. And then when you turn off the electric field, right, you're doing the expansion, and then the evaporation, like the conventional refrigerator, you absorb the heat from the fridge, and you essentially take to the material, right? And afterwards, you turn the heat on, which is compressing, and then driving the heat out through condensing, right? So it's a similar principle, but you don't use any refrigerant anymore, right? So that's the beauty of this next generation electromagnetic, in this case, magnetic cooling. And you still need some not refrigerant, but you need some way to drive the heat out, either through water or some pipes that drive out. But this is quite promising technology we're looking at. And then for similar kind of a technology concept that affects water using electromagnetic wave of low voltage, low power, 2.5 volt, and low frequency electromagnetic signals that you essentially can put them into the water, that is not based on the point you put the device in, like an aerator to get oxygen into the water to help with shrimp farming or canal, but it's based on the volume and surface of the water, right? So the concept is to take them into a rice paddy field, right? And rice paddy, you're probably aware that contribute 10% of the methane emission in the world. And in some country like Vietnam, rice paddy greenhouse gas emission is more than the transportation of Vietnam, right? And they are one of the largest producer of rice. And this, because the water on the rice crops that cover the ground, that really make anaerobic microbes, right, really flourish, which emit a lot of methane, right? The anaerobic sulfur, methane, all this bad stuff. With this electromagnetic signal, right, that, like I said, it doesn't depend on the point you put this small device in, but based on the large surface volume of this field, you can, based on Japanese research, right, unrelated to this device, that if you put a pellet of oxygen inside the water, as a part of the water for the rice paddy, you can reduce 22% of methane emission, right? So this is the research that I'm driving to see how that will, using such a device for a rice paddy field, right, that can cover 20 hectares, right, just one device, that more than thousands of horsepower of aerator replacement, right? As I said, it's the independent point you put in. So it really drive the, and similar principle, line up the water molecule, reduce the surface tension, absorb more oxygen, like 2 or 3 times more oxygen into the water, which kills anaerobic microbes, and which were the cause of methane emission, right? So that's very interesting work that I'm looking at. And then using magnetic field for our culture meat, right, is another direction of research that looking at that, because growth factor, of course, for culture meat, you need cell lines. You talk about immortality, and you need a growth medium to grow those culture meat. Of course, there are many other aspects of work, but a major cost factor is growth medium, and normally they can be very expensive. So this magnetic field, right, basically is virtually costless or free kind of a growth medium, that you take muscle cells and you apply magnetic field and you produce growth factor, and those growth excretion of growth factor, you feed them as a culture meat cell to grow meat, right? Very much like the cosmetic thing. Very much.
Excuse me, Dr. JJ.
Yeah.
Could you please speed up a little bit, that if you could finish in about 5 minutes, so that we have some more time for the questions. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you very much. Okay. So the other thing is some of the brain work, electromagnetic field for measurement, for our food evaluation, and for on brain health and on Alzheimer. So some of the work we did there as well. So the really, I want to talk a little bit about nuclear energy, right? And our group is tooting nuclear energy. You probably have heard, senior chairman. And we have a good relationship with China and also France, right? And France has like 70% nuclear power. Electricity is generated from nuclear, and similar to Thailand in population and size, right? So it is true, right, that Fukushima time, Thai has a lot of protests, but now the time is a lot of energy crisis and climate agenda, right? So nuclear energy really come back, I would say, in vengeance, including Germany recently turned one back on, right? America is also back on, right? And they were the #1 in nuclear reactors, right? They have hundreds, but they really wasn't doing very much. Unlike China, is moving, have a very aggressive scheme, right? And Turkey just announced a 22 gigawatt of China nuclear, because that costs 22% of their economics on import. And nuclear definitely is energy, has very great carbon footprint, right? So that's something we promote. And small nuclear reactor, and is one of the approach to help achieve safety, right? And normally it's 1 gigawatt. And so America is giving Thailand a small modular nuclear reactor. And the thorium-based nuclear reactor is another great technology, right? That has much more abundance and on Earth's crust, and is cheaper in terms of no enrichment process, and it can 1,000 times reduce nuclear waste and 200 times more energy per weight. And thorium is still not commercial yet, right? But it's very much Indians' strategy of 30% of their electricity output, they want to dump through thorium nuclear reactor by 2050. China also big time on it, and China control, of course, the rare earth, and the thorium, the big 12% of the monazite rare earth compound that can extract. Thailand has thorium about 10,000 tons, which is quite good. It's 10% of China, but consider Thailand is 1/20th of the size of China. Thailand, so this thorium nuclear reactor is one that I feel very interesting as well, because it's a naturally inherent breeding reactor and reducing significant nuclear waste, and as I said, 1,000 times or so. Some very good characteristic for thorium nuclear fission. And one of the great technology that I'm looking at the company is a TerraPower. Basically, this future technology, travel wave reactor. This reactor basically is a reactor that rotates the nuclear rod, right, from the very fissionable nuclear fuel, and then while the outside nuclear is breeding, right, outside the nuclear rod is breeding from the volatile material into a fissile material, and they rotate in, right. So you don't have nuclear waste. You just need like a initial starter, like candle, right? You have a match light up, and then all the wax coming down, but the wax gets reused. That you're burning more that nuclear fission that generate more energy without any loss or waste per se. So this is a very interesting reactor concept that we can use for uranium-235 as the initial start on the uranium-238 materials, and then you can also do a thorium-232, right, which is even better due to the capture fission ratio for neutron, and thorium is better in fission more than capture. And nuclear fusion is another one we're promoting. This is what Conservation want to help countries support the effort by sponsoring and involved in driving some of this energy evolution, right? And most of the nuclear fusion is based on deuterium and tritium, which are the isotopes of hydrogen. And you can see all these startup, 22 of them are based on this kind of a fusion of lighter atom into heavier atom and produce energy. And today, the target already achieved is like energy input, output with respect to energy input. Some ignition approach will give you 1.5 times. And then with this international project, hope to get 10 times, right? But the timeline is an interesting one. You can see that 14 of this company response, right, believe by 2031, 2035, you will have nuclear fusion, right, which is even cleaner and less nuclear waste than nuclear fission, right, and more energy. So I'm not going to talk the detail. I need this company, but it's one company I use it to really understand and promote is a Helium fusion that is alternative fusion fuel that using deuterium and helium to fuse, right, to produce fusion technology. and it's a combination of ignition based as well as magnetic confinement based, right? And the reason is interesting. This company is they have 2028 plan with Microsoft, the entire company, to provide their power, right, for the Microsoft energy use. So this is some of the technology that looking at. As I said, this is the deuterium and helium fusion, right, to produce helium-4, helium-3, and this technology can generate megawatt higher than the deuterium and tritium, right, a little bit higher, and although there are some challenges that I will say as well, and because this fusion technology that still has it can generate 5% neutrons, can still generate tritiums, right? Because within the fuel tank, there also the deuterium could be fused as well. So that's actually twice as likely. So that could also causing some challenges. But this is technology. Yeah. So I'll finish here and address any questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. JJ. We can have some 5 minutes for the questions and answer. Actually, I have one question that from your emission reduction for scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 in the beginning, how to tackle the scope 3 emissions reduction, because this seems to be a very large portion, and also it is challenging since it deals with non-core business operation from the CP.
Oh, it's true.
Slide number 5.
Yeah. I think I won't be the expert here to because my focus mainly is to make sure we get as much as our own scope 1 and 2 reduce, right? And then offset many of the works of the scope 3 that we will need to do. So I won't be the right person to address that question. So.
Okay, and also how could ENTEC help CP Group for to achieve the net zero target?
Yeah, of course, in terms of the energy research on the solar panel, and which we want to adopt more and more, and on the use of efficient hydrogen generation, that I think ENTEC has done quite a bit of work, but the economy is still not working out for us. So with this flash graphene, flash hydrogen, and I know ENTEC has talked about turquoise hydrogen a little bit, and but I think the economics is without the carbon side, without the graphene side, will not work out well either. So I very much will appreciate ENTEC and NSTDA to help us to work out economics, right, to help us on the graphene and carbon together, right, to essentially overcome this challenge of the hydrogen economics, which I think at the board the members, committee member have talked a lot, yeah, on the hydrogen side. But see, there is
Thank you very much. And now the floor is open for anyone to have some questions. I think I have seen some people would like to ask some questions. Yep. Okay, from Dr. Nuwong.
Hi, and good morning, Dr. JJ. So I think you mentioned, I think, a bit on the hydrogen and your conservative view. Well, your CP conservative view on hydrogen, right? I see a lot has happening. I read the news. I think recently, I think we are team up with Toyota also. I think on the chicken manure production, chicken manure process to hydrogen. Is that going to be one of the four things that CP is pushing forward, or is that just a joint activity with Toyota? Because I think you seem to have a lot of activity on
The work,
GT.
yeah. Of course, Japan and Korea, they were the inventors, early promoters of hydrogen, and they made a lot of investment in EV as well. And so they have a lot of good technology. And so we're looking at our feedstock. In our side, our capital investment will be very low, right? Because all the heavy lifting will be done by the Toyota side. But our work will be try to see how our feedstock could reduce the cost, right? Like I said, using this turquoise hydrogen, right, process that with the carbon footprint, this is less, but hopefully generate the carbon, activate carbon, or that turn that into biochar and graphene to essentially offset the cost on the hydrogen side, because the economics, like I said, is still need to on the pure hydrogen side still not there, right? But with the carbon work, this can reduce the cost, right? So of course, if we feed in the natural gas from PTT, maybe that's also right. But we really need to see how the carbon really give us the benefit too. And this is some of the economics that we're looking at, some of the solution, right? That it turned out to be the carbon side is more lucrative than the hydrogen side.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And flash hydrogen, as I said, is another waste to value angle that we look at, that take plastic waste, right, solid in this case, and food package waste to make more hydrogen and graphene, right, in one go, that give us even better economics.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. JJ, for the very comprehensive as also very in-depth views regarding the CP group technology as well as the technology-related issues. Thank you very much. And I understand that you are overseas and it's very early morning for you as well. Very well appreciated. Thank you very much. Okay. May I also ask the members to give the applause to Dr. JJ, please. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ ขอบคุณนะครับ ขอบคุณทุกคนครับ สวัสดีครับ